What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 37 of Sitting with Sean. Today, I've got a very special guest, Tyler. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing well, man. Super glad to be here. That made it this far in my recovery. And be here and be open to share. And yeah, super glad that you thought of me to be here, brother, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've known Tyler for a little bit now. The first time I met him, we were in a peer training together. I was training him, and I was like, man, I really like him. I try to like everybody, but I was like, I really like Tyler.
Like a good guy, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Tyler, you want to do a formal introduction of yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Tyler. I'm originally from Spokane, Washington. Moved up here in 2008 with my mom and my little brother. At the time, we were down there, and we were homeless down there. My mom comes from I come from a long history of substance abuse, so yeah, we moved to kind of get away from all of those things for a better life. But as far as we know, that stuff is up here too, and it was right next door. So things were the same. But yeah, we moved up here trying to make the better of things, and so been up here for about 15 years. With the hand shoe and then service high school and ended up dropping out. I got my GED and well, I don't know how far I'm supposed to go with this introduction part. But
Hey,
yes, yeah, and then so I've been up here for 15 years, man, and started with my little addiction and fell off, and here we are today, brother, man. So
here we are today. Absolutely, absolutely. Going from Spokane to Anchorage, that's a huge weather shift, man. How like I know that Anchorage and Alaska itself gets a lot of snow, but what was the weather like in Spokane versus Anchorage?
man, it was to me at the time the winters seemed cold, but they definitely were not, man. Sometimes we'd get like heavy snowfall, but if it snowed like 3 inches, they'd cancel school for a couple days, while they cleared up. But it was just very short, man. And the summers, they're super hot, man, like so hot where you can't escape it, man. So but it was really, yeah, the weather shock and the cold. The biggest thing about me was it wasn't the weather. I could handle that, and that wasn't the thing. But I always struggled with like the fitting in part, man, and the couple people I was with. And so when I moved up here, man, and moving up to a different side of town, staying with my aunt, man, it felt a little uncomfortable because I was going to the side of town with the higher up, upper class type people, and then I didn't fit in with that one so bit, you
Yeah.
know. So that was the most shocking part to me is moving up here and just being a part of a whole different world, man, whole different way of living.
Yeah, it's a huge culture shock when you go from a certain way of life to another way of life, and you're just like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea, but yeah, so that.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. So like Tyler and I are in a thread, and earlier today we were talking. We have a common friend that lives in Georgia and Atlanta area, and they were getting a tornado, and we were talking about differences between tornadoes and earthquakes. Man, what would you rather go through, a tornado or an earthquake?
Whew, man, because I've never experienced a tornado. So, I was thinking like, oh, you can see where it's at, and you can kind of try to avoid it. But after our good friend Ron, man, after he mentioned that, he said, the tornado. I was like, earthquakes are pretty scary, man. One of those go on. So, but he's like, yeah, the earthquake, it happens and it goes away. You might get your little aftershock, but those tornadoes, it's more of like an anticipation and a worry, a fear, anxiety. Is this thing going to come this way? Is it going to come that way? A little bit of a more prolonged thing. I think the quicker we can get through scarier things, the quicker we can move on to it. Yeah, and people like me with anxiety and worry and stuff like that, I'm thinking maybe tornadoes will probably be worse now, man. After you put that in my perspective.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I agree with that as well. After reading that, I kind of agree. But like, you were there for the 2018 earthquake.
Yes, I was. I was
That
not sober, but I was there. So
that shit was crazy.
I remember it, dude. I was in a hotel room and it cracked the doors and set off the fire alarms. It was so crazy, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of shifted the door frames a little bit, knocked the TVs off the walls, cracking things. You know, it was kind of freaky. I was trying to wake this girl up that I was with. She would not wake up. I was freaking out.
I
Uh,
dude, I was in my house. I was living in a 2-story house on base on J Bear, and like I was still in the army. It started shaking, and I had like a flashback of Afghanistan. I was like, oh shit, and like jumped up. My wife's kid was sleeping. She had just had a tonsil removed, and so like I was rushing her out the door. My wife at the time was all the way up toward Chugiak, and I had to rush up there. But like the highway was so backed up, dude. It took me 40 or like 4 hours to just to get there.
funny you brought up that tonsil thing, man, because I didn't think about that. And when I didn't really do no prepping for this on what I was going to come on here and share. I was kind of just going to
Yeah,
talk and see how it goes. The only thing I kind of really thought about is what I'd be comfortable sharing and what I wouldn't be.
yeah,
But so if when we get to that part, about the sharing and the drug addiction, man, yeah, that the tonsil part, that was a huge part because I had my tonsils removed, man, and that when that guy gave me, I had experienced. This is not the first time that I was experiencing. Is it okay if I just go on that right now?
yeah, yeah. Go for it. Yeah,
Well, so yeah, I'll start just sharing the first time that I used substances, man. I was too young to even remember the first time I was ever high on drugs because it was something I was unaware of. I used to drink a family member's coffee, and every once in a while, sometimes I was cool and sometimes I wasn't. I was 2 years old at the time, man, and I only know about this because my mother told me about this. So my mom and my grandmother used to get high together, right? So my grandma came over with this cup of coffee, had some speed in it, and left it there. And when my grandma left, I went up to my mom and my breath smelled like coffee, and she's like, "What?" She's like, "Where'd you get the coffee?" And I was like, "Grandma left it." She freaked out and called her and asked her if she left anything in there, and she said, "Yeah, it had some speed in there." And then fucking, oh, sorry.
no, you're
Uh,
good. You're good. Language ain't a thing, man. Say what you got to say.
yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like a weird little thing. I hate to speak on it because my grandma's no longer here with us, and things are better now. But so she called her and asked her if there's anything in there, and she said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, Tyler drank it." And she's like, "Oh fuck, he's gonna be something." Her reaction wasn't like very like, oh, worrisome. It was more of like a oh shit, type
Yeah.
of reaction. Just kind of messed up. And kind of wish I would have never learned that. So that was the first time I was ever high off anything, man. And 2 years old, man, I was up for like 3 days on meth, man. I had no control over that.
Geez,
So
I can relate, man. My mom went out somewhere. I don't remember if she was working or whatnot, but like she went out and she had some wine coolers in the fridge, and it's like it's different. But like I went in thinking it was juice. I don't remember the shit my mom told me, but like she came back home and the babysitter was watching TV or whatever. She came back home. She found me passed out behind the couch with all the wine coolers around me, and that was my first experience with substance at all.
yeah, see, and then now fast forwarding it a little bit, I was in second grade, man. I started. My family was heavily pot smokers, so me and one of my cousins, man, we used to love the smell of weed, man. When my dad would smoke it when we were younger,
Yeah.
try to smell it through the vents and all sorts of things, like weird stuff. You know what I mean? I still like the smell of weed. I don't smoke it these days, man,
Yeah.
but that was something that I was doing, and so we started smoking at the age of 9, man. Stealing my dad's weed, started smoking weed, man. I love that, dude. That first time I lost control of my body, man. The giggling, man, the escaping from everything, and I wasn't even really trying to escape from much at the time, man. There that I was aware of, but
Yeah.
yeah, man. And then we did that for I'm not sure how long until he was telling people at school what we were doing, and I didn't tell none of my friends, or nobody because we went to separate schools,
Yeah.
and so I didn't tell nobody about what was going on. And he had told this girl, and they had like this little flirting type relationship, and whatever, picking on each other, kind of that little kid stuff. And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go tell the teachers that you smoke weed." And she went and told on him, and then yeah, CPS had got involved, man, and they didn't really do nothing as far as my house. They went and searched. I don't even remember what happened. because my cousin my they had ended up staying with my dad because my aunt was strung out on heroin. So
Yeah.
they lived with my dad and my grandmother over there, his mom, and
Hmm.
they took care of them, and we'd go over there on the weekends. And so that was my little weekends for like 9 months maybe until they finally caught us, man. And then it was just a crazy thing, Then my mom was like, I went home, and I knew she knew when she looked at me,
Hmm.
she was like, she fucking was just mad. But
Yeah.
she was like, and then they wanted to know how much we were doing. We were doing it, how we were getting it. And, this dude just never noticed the whole time, man. We were just pinching his stash, man.
Mm. Damn. So what ended up happening with that?
I have no idea, man. I know that they maybe had to do some class, I had no idea. I know that I was grounded for the summer. It was a little bit different.
Yeah.
I had to go places with my brother, lost the trust of my mom. She wanted every little second, she would check my pockets for stuff, smell my hands and stuff when I got home, stuff
Yeah.
like that, man. So,
Yeah. I understand that,
and
man.
then
So
I ended up stopping for a while, a good while after that.
yeah, yeah, I didn't really get into the heavy stuff. I was a super nerd when I was in school. So like I made that promise to myself. I'm never gonna drink, drug, or smoke. And by the age of 18, I had broken all that shit. All those promises I had made myself. So when did you start getting into some of the more heavier stuff?
The more heavier stuff. So, the first time that I had done anything like heavier was on my 14th birthday. Fast forwarding, so we started to getting booze. I was hanging out with a couple of people, man. We'd run around in the streets, and this is when my mother's drug addiction was, in its prime, and we were closer to the time where we were moving up here. I was 14 at the time, and I remember we had gotten evicted out of one place, went to another place, and I started just hating and getting this anger, this rage, dude. And I did not listen or respect my mom. Sometimes I would just call her by her first name, and she, I would not, because I knew what she was doing, but she always denied it.
Yeah.
So, I would take that out and channel that rage. And I'd run away and go over to my buddy's house, and we'd drink juices all the time. Those tall boys just
Yeah.
get blacked out, drunk, right? And
Hmm.
so listen to like this Bay Area type music, influenced by that hyphy, that
Yeah.
ecstasy fizz type stuff. And our first time doing hard drugs on my 14th birthday, took a couple ecstasy pills,
Mm.
fell in
Mm.
love with that there.
Yeah. Listen. That hyphy shit will definitely get you ready.
Yeah,
It's I
those
was,
are my idols, man. I like Mac Dre since I was like in fourth grade. My uncles listened to them. My cousin, we listened to them. And it was like it just felt good. He was like a hippie type dude, and
yeah.
jiggy type feeling. It was cool, man. It just seemed
Yeah.
fun, exciting, let loose, carefree, man.
Yeah. I was a fan of E40 when I was a little bit older. E40
Yep,
was
yep.
my
I
shit.
grew up on E40, man. I knew E40 since I was a youngster, in a major way, man. So,
Yep.
I grew up on that type stuff, man. Used to listen to that. My mom
E40
was
was E40 was that club shit, man.
Yeah, he got me through a lot of stuff, man. E40's a good dude, man. Yeah, E40, man. I still love E40 to this day, man.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. So, moving past that, what you fell in love with X? What ended up happening after that?
So after that, I had done it one more time while I was there, and
Mm.
then I got the news. So that was on my birthday, my 14th birthday. And then a few months go by, we couldn't, it was hard to find, people didn't want to sell those to 14-year-olds and stuff like that. A couple people would, but
Yeah.
yeah, fast forward, we did it one more time. And then after that, it was just, I didn't smoke weed at the time. Started doing some weird things to me, weird. So I just, yeah, I would drink. I would go out and just drink a lot. But then, yeah, that was pretty much it for that. And then once we got the news that we were moving up here, I tried to run away and go and stay at that dude's house. I was there for like a week, man. My mom couldn't find me, dude, nothing. So and then I finally, I was like, oh, I can't leave my little brother and them. They're just leaving me here, him going up there alone. So, I went back and we took the plane up here.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you come in the summer or in the winter time?
I came end of February 2008. And so I remember the first week I got up here, it wasn't so bad. It was kind of like packed ice everywhere. The sun was coming out during the days a little bit longer, to the longer than what we've got going on here now, and then it dumped like 3 feet of snow. And this is a crazy story. These buddies that I was hanging out with, this is the kind of stuff that we went to we'd go hang out at the mall. We were there at this time, and the snow was like up to our knees, man. And we were just out looking for trouble, and that's when my little getting addicted to the chaos and doing things. There's this jewelry store there, man. And I remember stole these rings, dude, and then I just loved, like, we reached over the counter and grabbed a whole display case of these rings, these jewelry rings, man. And we ran out of the mall, man, and ran. And I fell in love with my heart racing and the giggling, dude. We were running and laughing and giggling and slipping and falling, dude. And dude, that was fun, dude. I felt like I found my friends there,
Yeah, that adrenaline rush, man. That adrenaline rush is super addicting.
Yeah, dude. We went across the street to this pizza place and put the rings on the table, and the guy's like, "What are you guys doing? You guys can't be here." You could just tell something was up, man, and kicked us out. We're just like waiting for a ride, man. Snow outside.
Yeah, man, that adrenaline rush. In my opinion, adrenaline is one of the biggest drugs that you can have, right? Because you can never get enough of it.
Yeah, because like all that chaos and everything that I put myself through, I think that's the only thing. I'm not missing the coping with drugs or escaping my reality. Sometimes my life may seem a little dull or unexciting, and it's just because of those types of moments that I had, man, where it was just fuming me up. You know what I mean? It's hard to find those in everyday life. You got to kind of work really hard to get to. It's like something that's doing that for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. So, you're up in Anchorage, and you're starting to adapt to the lifestyle up here, and you're making friends and stuff. When did the substance abuse pick back up for you?
Okay, so when I started, I started smoking weed again, here and there, and then, man, when we were up here, we were pretty poor, and so let's see, it started, man. I started off like selling drugs when I was 15. I'm not gonna name them all, but I was doing things when I was 15, 16 when I came up here. I started. I'm not 15. I was 16. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
I started selling, keeping stuff. And at that time, dude, I was like one of those type of people that like had this strong disbelief against like cocaine or anything, like anybody that did it. There's instances where I walked in on like cousin and them in a bathroom when we were partying and they're doing coke, blew off the table. I'm like, what the hell? I got mad at the people with them, trying to protect her, and stuff like just from, well, we can't go down that. It's so wrong, but, and then, so that around that same time, man. So did that, and so I had the coke, man, all the time, and a couple of my buddies that I looked up to, they started using it, and it was like, what, and they kind of like cut away from us a little bit, and it was like, he's doing it, and we were like, wow, man, what the hell, man, and it was just kind of a weird experience, and then started more people started leaving like the area we were at and going over to this person's house, and this person's house was all of a sudden the place to be. This is where everything was going on at, so I started, and it was like they had like this thing because they knew we didn't like getting high and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But once I started doing cocaine and stuff, man, that's when these doors started opening. I'm going to these places, I'm hanging out with these people, and I had an abundance of it, so I was getting high all the time on cocaine, man. I can't really put a timestamp on it, on where at first I was doing a lot, and then there were some days where I would wake up and I would just want to do it right away in the morning, man. And I can't really put a timestamp on that. I think it was like when I was like 17 and a half. Yeah, it's about 17, man. In that time, there was times I'd wake up at 7, man, and I'd snort a line, dude, and it would start from there.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said this and like I really kind of like started thinking about it and like taking it to heart. He said, I used to live in the I have not yet. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And he's like, I haven't done this yet. I would get mad at people for doing like certain things that they were doing, but I haven't done it yet. and I would end up doing it, right? And so when you said that, that reminded me of that. Like I used to live in that too. Like same thing. When I was drinking, I'd be like, oh, potheads, stupid, but I hadn't smoked weed yet, right? Or coke heads, like I haven't snorted a line yet,
Yeah.
you know. And so like I can relate to that, man. Like living in the not yets and then getting to that point where you're like, I love it.
Yeah. And so that was a crazy time, man. And then it started progressing a little bit. People started doing it in different forms, different things like that.
Yeah.
Then that time the ecstasy. So before that, I was popping a lot of ecstasy before I even did the cocaine back up here. I got really back into that again too. So and then the cocaine came back in, and that was the more. I could wait and put off with doing the ecstasy, and I could say no, I could do that. That cocaine, once that started coming around, I started getting addicted to that. I couldn't say no, and even if I had to stay up until 7 in the morning, go to work at 9, I was doing that.
Yeah.
Uh, I got started getting a lot harder to say no to. I started developing that kind of turning down that lifestyle. But things weren't going bad. I wasn't giving stuff away. I was making money. I was accomplishing things, man. I was growing. Family is proud of me. Oh yeah, they're doing good. Because coming from a whole different way of life. And I was, and then I started getting enrolled at. I got my GED. Got enrolled at UAA, man, and was doing that. Is one of my one of my good friends I met at UAA. This is when I stopped taking ecstasy. He got a bunch of Molly powder, and we seen him on Thursday, and he had a few pounds of that stuff, man. We seen him on Thursday. We're buying some, having fun, and then next thing you know, go to stop by his house on Saturday, and that corner van's out there. The so somebody had died in there, and it was him. He had passed away. Uh, Little mixture of Roxy's and Molly's, but I didn't mess with those Roxy's at the time. And then man, my tonsils, they started bothering me, and my throat, man, I got this huge thing, man. To this day, these lymph nodes are still a little swollen, but my tonsils, they got swelled up so big, man, I could barely breathe, I could barely talk. So I had this surgery done, and I remember that, dude. They gave me this big, huge bottle of liquid oxycodone, and yeah, dude, it was a huge bottle, dude, like huge, dude, overkill, man. I remember by the time that it was me and so I started drinking that, and I was like, dude, I loved it, dude. It would pass out, I would wake up, and I would drink some more, and I was like, oh man, this stuff's tight.
Yeah.
And my boy wanted to try it, so we were trying it together. And at the time, people mix that with soda, do all sorts of
Yeah.
fun stuff with it, but we weren't doing that. I was just drinking it straight. And so we go to my checkup appointment, man, and this is where my little drug seeking behavior started coming into play. I had still maybe a quarter of that bottle left at the house, and he looked in there and asked me, is it still hurting, all this stuff? And I told him, yeah, really uncomfortable still. It's like, kind of in my head, I wanted to get another bottle, another refill.
Yeah.
And he did. He gave me the same duplicate bottle, man.
Damn.
Another bottle. So I went home with another bottle, and that was like I was I was high on that stuff for like weeks, man.
Damn.
Yeah, and
Just
that's when
over the
that
moon.
itch really started, man. I fell in love with like the itching, that warm feeling, man. Just could just eat. I could eat carelessly, man, and just enjoy my food, man. And yeah, that's when that started right there.
That's rough, man. That has to be rough.
Yeah, and so I didn't like continue seeking out the drugs after that. After it ran out, it kind of just ran out.
Yeah.
But ever since then, I kind of would every once in a while, I came across some pain pills or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were easily accessible in my house. We moved up here to kind of take care of my grandmother. That's not
Hmm.
with us no more. But so we moved up here to take over what my aunt was doing and kind of get away, and that's what my mom did that as her job. I was kind of doing it as a part-time job too and getting paid for it. But so there was like there was extra painkillers in the house, man, and that weren't being taken before refills were. And at times, people would take those for their pain needs, family members in the house and stuff. And I started sneaking and grabbing them, man.
Mm.
And, I'd take them one day at school, every once in a while, but I would be smart about it to where it wouldn't affect the person taking them,
Yeah.
which is wrong, no matter how you look at it, man.
Yeah.
But, uh,
You were taking them as prescribed, but they weren't prescribed for you.
Well, no, I was taking them to where it wouldn't affect my grandmother,
Oh,
to
okay.
where she
Yeah.
couldn't go without, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'd be like, oh, I could take 4 of these, and then hold on
Yeah.
to them and hide them.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, man, that's what I started doing that was doing that on and off for a couple of years. And then we started getting introduced to Xanax bars.
Mm.
Fast forward, I was like 18, 19, 18, around there. Started taking those Xanax and mixing
Mm.
that with that codeine and the pills, man, and the Roxys. Oh, man, that was fun times, man. It was fun times for me at the time, Nothing
Yeah.
could top that, match that, Didn't care about nothing. And
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
recipe for disaster.
recipe for disaster, man. And like the way that my head works, man, like I was thinking like, oh, there's a way to get these to where we don't have to buy them. People get prescribed these,
Yeah.
and I have anxiety, I got depression, I got all these issues, so me and my boy, we'd plot ways to go to doctors to try to get them to get it prescribed to us, and putting
Yeah.
work into getting a supplied prescription, man, of what we've seen other people have. Other people got a prescription. You get 90 of these pills a month. That was one of my goals, man. It was like a
Yeah.
weird goal that I had set out in my
Yeah.
head. It wasn't like, yeah, something I was super open with, but with a couple people. But yeah, that's what I was actively working on, man. Was trying to get me a full script of Xanax bars at the age of 18, man.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah.
Were you successful in that though?
Uh, man, no, I was not, man. I
No.
failed miserably, dude. My friend was though. One of my good buddies was, man, and I kind of wish he wasn't, man. It's like a touchy subject. He actually ended up, we lost him a year and a half ago to the same thing, this fentanyl and Xanax. One of my best friends since I moved up here. One of my first friends since I moved up here.
Man, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Right after I graduated the program, I graduated in August. He passed away in September, the week before his birthday, before he turned 29. So,
Yeah. Damn.
tragic, man.
I'm sorry about your loss, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, and then at first, I started doing that blaming thing, but no, we were both doing that together, man. We were both kind of doing that seeking and helping each other do it. And, I can't put no blame on myself because everybody makes their own choices, man. But I regret being there, and if I could take it all back and go back and not try to help and feed into that, man, I would absolutely not do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what was that absolute point that you got to where you said, I need help?
Oh, okay. So we're gonna fast forward, man. That's that stuff. It didn't grab a hold of me. I was stronger than that stuff. I was handling it. I didn't get sick. I didn't get addicted from it like that. I wasn't having withdrawals. So if it wasn't there, it wasn't there. If I had to handle business, I had to handle business. I wouldn't do anything like that. I wouldn't try to let it deter me because, at the time, I'm going to UAA, trying to get my bachelor's, I'm working at Costco, and trying to trying to get into the labor's union too, I had these goals and, man, this motivation. I was really highly motivated and to do things. Good head on my shoulders too, other than like that stuff just grinding me down. But so the painkiller addiction, it progressed to taking, those 5 milligrams to, I'm taking these Roxys, 30 milligrams, and itching, dude, loving that. Didn't get addicted to those, but one time my connect was out of town, and I told you I'd sell drugs, man, at the time. So I had these people that I used to sell heroin to, man. And at the time, I didn't have none, and he knew where to get some, but he wanted me to give him a ride, told me he'd give him some gas money. And so I started doing that on the times that I was out, and I started letting them smoke in my car, smoke on foil in my car. And so, I should have never did that. I was on Rockies, put myself in that dangerous situation. Like, why would I even do that? But that was the kind of stuff I was welcoming in my life, by the stuff that I was doing, I was trying to sell that stuff, so I was okay with people doing it around me.
Yeah.
And just that one time I didn't have it and I was kind of itching, and he was like, he told me straight like this. He's like, he's like, you're my good friend, man. And he was like, I can't get off this shit, man. That's exactly what he told me. He's like, I'm not gonna not give it to you because you gave me a ride. But he was
Mhm.
like, I can't stop doing this shit, man. Is what he
Yeah.
told me. And we were like 18 at the time, 19. This is when we were 19. And I'm like, man, what the fuck do I look like? You know what I mean? Like, dude,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get addicted to that shit. I'm not gonna get strung out on heroin, man. And I was like, because I started questioning, like, oh, that's the same thing as like a Roxy. So if I hit that a couple times, it'll feel like I did one of those 30s. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's, and then I hit that one time, and dude, it was rap from there, man. It was a wrap from there, brother.
Mm.
I don't think I used it the next day, but
Mm.
we would go ride and re-up and do all these things, and it went from just re-ing up to selling to re-ing up to applying a habit. And yeah, man, my was getting it at a really cheap price, man. So it was really easy to do because at the time that stuff was $500 a gram up here, dude, and I'm getting it for 150. You
Yeah.
know, I'm getting it at lower 48 prices, so it was much easier to supply and keep it going. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
little fund I had for it, and it didn't feel like it was doing nothing. But I can remember the time I was in the labor's union, and this was January, must have been 2013.
Mhm.
Yep, around 10 years ago. Yeah, 2013, 2014, maybe at the latest. Um, So I remember I was working on this job at the Alaska State Legislators Building, man, making great money, dude. Great money, dude. You're 19, you're got all this retirement benefits going into the labor's union. They're putting me on jobs throughout the winter, prevailing wages. I'm taking home like $1,400 a week, after taxes. That's huge for a
Yeah.
19-year-old. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I made tons of money. And dude, I was spending literally all of that. I stopped taking care of stuff, like my brakes at the time. This is when my brakes started getting bad. I should have did my brakes, my brakes started grinding, and things just started coming together. And one day I remember I didn't have the stuff, man. And I went to work and my back, dude, it just this pain, dude, I cannot describe, and I don't wish upon anybody, man. If you've been through it, man, those body aches, it's the flu. I started feeling like that. And I was like, oh, am I getting sick, dude? And I was like, and at the time, it was like, oh shoot, man, and I couldn't handle it, man. And on my one of my breaks, man, I went and grabbed something from the house, or went and grabbed something that was available for me, and then felt better. Felt instantly better, dude. I came back to work, dude, swinging, bam. I was doing demolition, dude. I came back like a tank, dude, just bow, bow. And that's what felt great, dude. I was getting praises at work, for how hard I was working. And, a little bit it was on me, but some of it, it was like if that drug wasn't there, dude, I wasn't there. I wasn't showing up like that no more. And that's when I started to realize, it's starting to be a problem, man. And I thought people noticed, man. I thought my mom noticed what was going on with me, but when I couldn't hold it in, dude. One day when I was sick, man, and I brought it up to my mom, and she was like, "What the fuck?" She's sober at the time. She got sober a little bit over 13 years ago. She got pregnant with my sister. Well, she's not completely sober, but clean from the
Yeah.
meth and all the good drugs, all the downing drugs.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, at the time she's like, "Oh yeah, I seen some foil in your car. I just never thought nothing of it. I thought like just didn't put that together or worry, that anything was going on. She just like seen a roll of tinfoil in my car. So I was sick, man. I detoxed at the house.
Mhm.
That was the worst sickness I've ever had. The first one. Uh, well, people say it gets worse throughout the time, but no, that was the worst one that I experienced, man. I was cold sweating, and it was just horrible, 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 horrible. And yeah, I ended up quitting that for about I can't remember exactly how long, but yeah, I stopped for about a week. I mean, I stopped for a good while, and then just went back to it, man. And then by that time, the peers that I was doing that with, they moved on quickly, man. They were shooting the stuff up, and I was like, oh hell no. So I kind of steered away from that for a little bit, but I was smoking it, and then I kind of went. I was like, all right, I gotta venture off and find people that are just smoking it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Jeez. So, what led you to that point, that ultimate point where you're like, "Yep, I need some fucking help," and that's it?
Okay, well, man, honestly, it took me a little while to get to that point. Um, you know, so after I did that detox and everything, while I was staying with my mom, and we were on after my grandmother passed, that was her income. I'm in the labor's union making good money, so we got a lease split. I'm half on the lease at that place at the time.
Mm-hmm.
A nice place, and then paying half the rent, doing this, and I started going out and using meth every once in a while on the weekends. And one of my cousins found out, and out of nothing but concern, told my mother what was going on. And then I heard that they were talking about it and all this stuff. So I came home just like raging. You know what I mean? Like I came home busting doors, breaking stuff in the house, man, and it scared the hell out of my family. And I woke up the next morning and got a restraining order put on me, protective order to get me out of the house because it was my house. It's like, what are you guys gonna do? This is my house. It's getting,
Yeah.
that I was raging, scary raging, man.
Yeah.
Uncontrollable. So they did what they had to do, and I went down to Washington for a little bit, and at the time my supervisor's like, no, don't do that, man. Come stay with me. I'll take care of you. You got it good right now. Don't do that. Don't run away from your problems, man. You know what I mean? Stay up here. And in my head, that didn't make sense, and or to even trust that I would be all right. So I
Mm-hmm.
ended up. Let me piece that together. I can't even remember where I stayed at when I first went down there, dude. Oh, I was just staying on and off at my dad's and my grandfather's house.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But I wanted to quickly come back up here, after a good time. But I ended up down there. Okay, now I remember it clearly. Here it comes, man. I landed back down there and linked up with a childhood friend, man, and we started gotten to talking about stuff, little pills, breaking the ice barrier about drugs. And then he said something about my DLC, man, heroin, and he's like, oh man, he's like, you don't want to get back on that, man. He's like, fucking, he's like, yeah, I slaying the fuck out of that, He's like,
Yeah.
no, and yeah, he found out he did it too, man. And from there, man, first day down there, I'm down there smoking heroin, already.
Yep.
And then it just progressed a little bit worse, man. And it took me a long time to realize, like, I knew it was starting to take control of me, but it's kind of sad, man. Like, I was like accepting and okay with what was going on. You know what I mean? And just as long as I was high, man, just as long as I was high, dude, it was okay. I was giving away everything. I was stealing from people that I didn't think were close to me. Like I didn't have to. I pawn things, of my family members, and like with
Yep.
the intentions of getting it back,
Mm-hmm.
and just was unable to do that. That stuff didn't even really hurt me, and I was mad at them for being mad at me about it. It was
Yeah.
kind of weird. Like, I'm gonna get it back, man. It's so weird. So I'll fast forward to the time, like it got really bad once I came back up here, man. I was good for a little bit. Same story, man. I went out and took a Xanax. Mom found out about that. And it was just like, yeah, no, you cannot stay here, dude. You cannot stay here. And from there, man, it was just straight in the streets, man, and hotel rooms, struggling to survive, man. Robbing, stealing, doing all this stuff to drive to feed my addiction,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and walking around, checking, doing all this weird stuff, and it was I had like this mentality, man. I'm not gonna be out here addicted and then miserable to drugs, man, and be dope sick too. If I'm gonna be addicted to drugs, I'm gonna have them, dude. And they got bad there, dude. I started scamming people, man. I started doing all this crazy stuff, identity theft, man. Um, I had, I was spending counterfeit money, dude. Lots of it, lots of it. To where the point where I'm not allowed in most of these stores in the city up here.
Yeah.
As they know what's going on. They knew what I was doing. They really couldn't pin it on me too hard. Must have. been some type of investigation. But so I got my first felony conviction, man. I when I got caught doing that, I didn't get caught at the time, but they caught on to what I was doing here. You know, I spent $500 at one register, and you know, I had a little mastermind plan to where I made that stuff pass the pin test, dude. So I was like getting it. I was spending that stuff everywhere. Only places that use the iodine pin,
Yeah.
and you know, it was nuts, man. And that's when my addiction, you know, was really bad because I wasn't going without, you know, for too long, maybe 5, 6 hours. You know, it felt like a long time at the time, but it would
Yeah.
not go that long, dude. It was
Yeah.
crazy, and so I caught. They caught on to me. They're like, "Hey, sir, we want to talk to you about the money you've been spending." And they tried to grab me, and I had some stuff I never paid for in my hands, man, and assaulted the security officer, and then some other dude tried to grab me, and I got them off of me. I got away. Um, I think they caught on to the girl that I was with there. Like a few months later, I had a warrant out and walking around, man, and I got pulled over for fitting the description of somebody, something completely unrelated. But they
Yeah.
checked my name, and I had some warrants. I was like, "What, dude? You know, man, I thought like kind of like a psychopath. You know what I mean? Like for what, dude? You know, I didn't do
Yeah.
nothing wrong." Like I
Yeah.
literally in my head could not think of what the hell that it would have been, you know, that they were that the warrant for. And he's like, well, it's a robbery in the second, you know, 2 counts of forgery in the first, you know, and assault three, and assault four. I'm like,
Yeah.
so, you know, from what, dude? I couldn't even pin it in my head, dude, the time that it was from because there must
Yeah.
have been, I don't know, there's other times, you know, gratefully just never, you know, I never had to do my time for that, but yeah, that was the one. They finally identified me and caught on for that, and so got did my little 6 months for that, and then you know I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna get out and make the best of this. Let me try to piece together how that happened, but it didn't work out like that, man. You know, I got out doing drugs. I didn't even. I went to my probation orientation like one
Yeah.
time, and then was like, nope, dude. I just straight went back to my old ways and was absconding, dude. And you know, I kind of liked that adrenaline rush of running, dude. It was kind of addicting. You know, it was kind of thrilling. You know, I've been chased by the probation officers a couple times, man. You know, and like they were trying to catch on to me and stuff. And one time they got me, but you know, I was like liking that. You know, it was so weird, man.
Yeah.
And then so finally, you know, that identity theft stuff, man. I got, uh, I got, I was in jail for probation violation again, and then I got indicted for 32 felonies of theft in the second, fraudulent use of access devices, and multiple, lots of victims, man. And that's what at the time, dude, I was incarcerated, got into a fight, and I was in the hole for 2 months at the time when I got indicted. You know, I did from like November to like March 12th, middle of November to like March 12th in the hole, dude. 24-hour lockdown. And you know, I'm really grateful for that time, man. Honestly, it's really sad that it took me to get down in that far to that point to start looking inward to myself and start you know, like, man, this I can't keep going on like this. And at the time, dude, I'm like 25, you know, at the time, 24,
Yeah.
24 at the time, about to turn 25, you know, and all this stuff escalated and went down so fast, man. And you know, when I'm getting in there, you know, one of the things is, you know, I'm not gonna be one of these weak guys in here. You know, I'm gonna start being one of these strong guys and started thinking about weird stuff. You know, I was trying to bring stuff in there, I got caught doing that, you know, and then but I seen somebody I was doing like that soul searching, man, and I was making these promises to people like when I step out of here, man, I'm gonna be a way stronger person, you know, and I'm mentally, physically, you know, I started speaking that stuff into existence. You know, I'm tired of hurting people. I'm tired of this way of living, man. I'm gonna try and lean on God and try to just keep doing what I've been doing in here, you know, out there. You know, I was doing like these little puzzles, reading books. You know, I was doing sketches. You know, learning how to draw. You know, pushing to learn myself to learn something, a skill. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I started to like that. You know, And I started to feel like my mind escaped when I was drawing and sketching, or when I was reading a really good book, and I was like, oh, it's almost kind of related, a little bit more coherent than being an addiction, but it was taking me away.
Yeah.
And I really liked that, man. And so when I seen somebody else that was in there, he got accepted into this therapeutic court program that we have up here. You're pretty well aware of.
Yeah.
Very grateful for that. I asked him, I'm like, how you getting out, man? He told me wellness court. So I started asking about it, and I talked to my public defender about it. Did the intake, and of course on my intake, man, I even lied to the counselor that came in there. Try to make it sound a little bit better, not as bad as what it was, so where they would still take me, because if they found out just how bad and how desperate my drug addiction was, that maybe they'd be like, oh, he's better off in here. So I had to kind of cushion it a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, and so put me on. I was only on singles when I got into the group, and I needed those doubles.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? That was my manipulative mind. And but gratefully, I got accepted into the program. These POs were like, "Hey, man, this is a huge case, and you got a lot of victims and a lot of things going on, and you never checked in with your PO or anything. You constantly absconding. You never turned yourself in. Not went to one court appearance. They're like, but we believe in you, and we're gonna cross our fingers with you, man. And we hope that you make the best choices with your life." And when she told me that, I was like, it just hit me a little bit. I didn't know how to react to that. Like, we're crossing our fingers with you. And then to me, that was kind of normal. Like, yeah, I understand why. I know why, because like, my intentions were not to check in. In my head, I heard you can mess up so many times before they finally take it away and get your time. And
Yeah.
my plea was 5 years flat. Then get off and continue on probation and pay all the restitution back, or I complete this program and just complete this program. And somewhere in between that, man, had an increase in self value and all that, and started believing in myself, and all my peers and everybody, the amount of support and structure that the program had. Um, I would never want to disconnect from that again.
Yeah. Getting into getting into wellness court and like working your program, starting your program clean. Like, how was that for you? What did you learn? What was the most beneficial classes for you?
Man, so the most beneficial class to me, they were all beneficial at key times, man. I think that shout out to Aquila, man, because they do an amazing job, man. That structure of that program was just amazing. From the early recovery skills to where they're telling you, like, hey, you got to schedule every hour of your time right now. What are you doing with your free time? And in me, in my free time, I'm wallowing in my own pity. Dude, I'm listening to depressed songs. I'm crying when I'm alone, man. I've battled with a severe depression and anxiety as far as I can remember. I don't think I've ever not been depressed, as far as things have been going good in my life, where people think, man, you should be happy. Yeah, I'm happy here during the day. You come home at night, dude, it hurts.
It's
It's
a
been like
different
that my
story.
whole life, man. It's still to this day, I battle with that. But it was all just perfect timing, man. I believe, man, and what they require, what they do, and it was a little weird situation at the time because of COVID. So I started off going, showing up to all these places that all of the time, taking these UAs, man. I'm going to my PO and I'm passing UAs, man. And that felt really good, and I didn't have to hide nothing. And so
Yeah,
it was all super beneficial. The most thing that I would say that did the most internally healing for me, though, was the MRT, the Moral Recognition Therapy, man.
that class scared the dog shit out of me when I first got in it.
Mhm.
But it is, like you said, it's the most beneficial class that I took in all of MR or all of therapeutic court.
Yeah, and so everything that I've done along my journey, like, it was just perfect timing. I prayed before I got out, like, just for guidance. I was like, you see, I can't control myself. You see where I get myself. You know what I mean? Can you just please just light it up for me, and I'll choose it, man. And he did. He literally did, man. God did. He saved me. He showed me, no, don't do this. No, don't worry about that. You know, you know, it just reassured, man, and everything just felt right. And things just started coming together better than ever. People started to, I get out and, I took a low level entry level job, restart back at the beginning. Wasn't afraid to do that, staying at a reentry center. Uh, you know, uh, Went back and worked hard. Just worked hard, man. Showed up for everything, every little thing, man. I showed up for, and would just work hard. And I started getting the respect from coworkers and stuff like that. And I was kind of, I was like a little stubborn guy, but they were cool. Laughing times, man. It's just a great time. Everywhere that I was put, man, was like a perfect place for me. At the time, man.
Definitely. Definitely. So you get to graduation, right? And you graduate, and like you're sitting there at graduation. What did it feel like to have people say good shit about you?
Man, that was truly amazing to get to that point to where I graduated that program because I was doubting myself the whole time, man, if it was even worth it, if I needed to do this. Some points I wanted to give up and just, I thought like maybe if I go do the 5 years, that's what I needed and I would come out way stronger, this, that, and never go back. But man, just the amount of things, like the establishing connections and all that, and yeah, everybody was just proud, man. It was overcoming that joy of overcoming that. It was hard to match, and so that I wanted to hold on to that for a while, that, but it started to fade away a little bit, just a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
but just kept choosing the right things, man. And I'm gonna be completely honest, so when I graduated, me and my things, what I was thinking of is my problems, all ours, drugs, just straight hard drugs, that's not my problem. It was never in my intentions to stop drinking alcohol or to stop smoking weed.
Yeah.
So when I first got off probation, I went and had some drinks, man, with the family, and then the next day was like, yeah, man, to celebrate. But and then I would smoking weed for a little bit, man, and I put that down. Just it started giving me anxiety. Started feeling it like, I realized, like one time was like, oh man, I'm gonna cope with this, and that's absolutely not what I wanted to do, man. And especially a month after, I lost the passing of my friend, my best friend. Uh, Reestablished that connection back with him, man. And I had no idea things were getting as bad as they were with him, addicted to those, man.
Yeah.
And so just losing that, man, that killed me. And I didn't know what to do with myself, man. And so I went back to we have these alumni groups, that we're aware of, we're a part of these peer support
Yeah.
groups, part of the program that we make us attend. I found my way back in one of those, somebody that I'm facilitating next to today, man. And, I asked him if I'm still welcome here, and he was like, "Of course, man. You're always welcome here.
Yeah.
Always have a spot here, man." And it's like, "Wow, man, you came back, because it was some time. It's been like at this time, dude. It's been, I don't know how long it's been since I've been there, but it's been like almost a year, dude. Since I
Yeah.
graduated, and I
Mm-hmm.
went through all this stuff, man, and came back. And in my head, I was co-facilitating those peer support groups, and Sean's like, "Hey, man, you're a really good peer, or sorry, Steve." Steve's like,
Yeah.
"Man, you're a really good peer, man." He's like, "You ever thought about doing something like that?" And that kind of, I did like it, but I just didn't feel like I was the guy. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm capable, or those lack of confidence, or just you don't gotta be perfect, so.
Yeah.
I just I went back and I went to the group and I seen it, man, and just the way that he words things, and thank God for him, man, being there, and thankful for all that. And I got interested in doing what they do, staying connected. That program saved my life, so that's where we met. We did that
Mm-hmm.
peer support training,
Yeah.
and yeah, I started in from there, man. And most rewarding thing as ever, man. I don't do much other than just see people overcome things and just kind of, oh, hey, yeah, the court program, but
Yeah.
just It's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's cool to see when people get that aha moment, when that light flashes in their eyes, and you're like, you get it.
I'm addicted to that, man. I'm addicted to that. I wish that it could go like anything. It doesn't have to be with addiction. It could be with anything.
Yeah,
People stop, they build up motivation, or they finally get inspired by something. I'm addicted to that now these days, man. I'd
yeah.
love to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love seeing that too. Especially for me, like in recovery, when people, they've had a hard road and they're just they're missing something, and then they finally get that something, and it's like everything makes sense now, and I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, there it is, man, there it is. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. All right. So now, what does your program look like now? What are you doing to maintain your program?
So now, dude, I'm booked up, man. Like I told you, the early so I'm yeah, I got a lot of things that I do these days. Well, started working, I'm still got my full-time job, the laser wash, car wash, it's pretty cool. They treat me
Hmm.
very well there. They actually had a huge part in that too, like, oh man, keep wow, man, because they seen me come up from where I was at the end of my recovery program to the growth and everything that they seen going on, and they were like, they validated that, and it was like, yo, man, keep hustling and keep doing your thing, man, and we'll take care of you here, man, and they loved that, and that felt really good. So it kind of made it hard to move on from there, and so I'm still there right now. But as far as that, dude, I facilitate those groups. I try to do as much self care as possible. Try to use all that stuff that I learned in treatment. Try not to dwell on the past. Try not to dwell on the good for too long either. Just try to move forward. And try to just stay on top of things is what helps me in managing my I'm talking to my doctors and behavioral health about, my anxiety, my depressions, just to kind of offload some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, because I carrying me down, I can continue to choose to stay sober, but with those depression thoughts and stuff like that, man, it's hard, man, so, I
Yeah.
mean, not like I want to, it just seems like, oh man, not like I'm going to escape it, but it's just a wearing down feeling, man. It's
Yeah.
a much better life out there. We can face our things and just heal from it. And so I also, now I'm picking back up and going to the NA. I started school. I'm
Yeah.
going working on getting my welding certificate, man, and that right there, just having that to look forward to,
Hmm.
and just learning and developing a skill, man, that right there feels really good. So I have like literally no free time, but my free time wasn't too much of a problem. Just hard time finding things that I enjoy to do, like,
Yeah.
sober things. What am I gonna go do with you know uh, this person that I'm more of an introverted type guy.
Yeah.
So I'll sit here and talk like this, or talk with you, or in a setting where I'm set up and supposed to show up for. It's a little bit easier, but when I'm on my own in my own free time, it's harder for me to get out and go be social and do things for me, man.
Yeah. I hear you, man. You're a collector of shoes too, yeah? You got some really nice shoes all the time.
Yeah, dude, I am addicted to shoes, man. I have a lot of shoes. I have more shoes than what I need, bro.
Yeah, I see. Like, we were at the peer training, and I was like, "Oh, he's got a different pair of shoes for every day." And then we go on a walk, and I'm like, "This motherfucker has more different shoes. What the hell?"
I have two pairs of shoes coming in the mail today that I just won too. Crazy.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, I like that. I really like to collect shoes, man. I don't even have to wear them. I could collect them. The way that yeah, man. I just love it, man. I'm super grateful for all my stuff, and I don't keep it. I'll throw it away. I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm like, yo, you got to slow down, because
Yep.
yeah, no man should need 20 pairs of shoes. Like,
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. What are your favorite pair of shoes that you own?
do you want to see?
Sure. I like this.
These are my favorites.
Oh man.
Gotta
I don't
see
know.
them.
I don't know anything about shoes, so you're gonna have to tell me.
The Jordan 4s, man, the Fire Reds, the
It's pretty hot.
2022 release. They've been releasing them since way back, but Yeah, this is the most recent release, the 2022.
Nice. That's sick. And you got
Yeah,
the fresh shoe smell too.
yeah, I've had these for years too, a couple of years, man. Since when I was in the program, I had got these. Yeah,
Nice. It's awesome, man.
yeah, but just collecting things and just being grateful for what I got, man, and just holding on to things that are worth holding on to. I think absolutely is part of it. Shoes aren't so important, but it's something. It's a want. And
Mm.
you,
It's
you know,
important to you.
Yeah, I liked it. I've always liked shoes, so I like recovered back my shoe game, a little bit, and it's as far as I'm willing to go with that, But like I shop at Burlington for my clothes. I'll get cheap clothes, man. I love cheap threads,
Yeah.
But my shoes, I love some shoes, man.
Yeah, man. If I'm not going anywhere, I'm wearing sweats everywhere.
Yeah,
If I don't have to impress nobody, I'm not going to.
yeah. No, I don't even do it to impress nobody, but dude, yeah, they get attention, but yeah, dude, I just love shoes, man.
Nice, nice. All right, Tyler. Before we shut down the show, man, uh, do you have any suggestions or anything like that? Words of encouragement for anybody that is going through addiction or is in early recovery, and they're just kind of struggling. What would you give to them?
Man, I absolutely just like I said, like that when we talked about in the beginning, just you gotta absolutely forgive yourself, not be so hard on yourself, and accept what the reality is, and that we're just gonna move forward from this, because there is healing from it, and that's what it takes, and there's certain things everybody's gonna be unique. But like I said, my anxiety and my depression, I talk to my doctors, I manage that. I reach out for help to your peers where comfortable. If you feel like you're holding on to something, and you find somebody that you're comfortable with, talk with them. And don't have to be a counselor. Those are the things that are going to pull you out of the dark places. Is the people here with us. It's not going to, and God, a higher power, absolutely a higher power. I pray a lot and just look forward to the future, but not too far. Don't trip on it. Just take this day and just remain grateful that you're still here. That was my advice.
Yep, definitely, definitely. All right, Tyler, man, I want to thank you for hanging out with me for this hour, dude. It was a good talk.
Thank you for being here, man. And dude, yeah, no, that felt great, man. That felt really great. I'm super grateful to even be to this point in my recovery, man. Feels like just yesterday, man. Yep, feel like just yesterday sometimes, man. But we're here
Yeah,
today. I don't look back to see how far I came, man. I don't look back to see poor me and pity me and put myself down, man. It fires me up when I look back and I think back to 2019, 2018, man. And I was in the streets, man. We're here.
yep,
We are now.
yeah. You're not there anymore.
Yes, sir.
All right. And once again, Tyler, thank you for hanging out with me. Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us and listening in Tyler's story. It's very inspirational, and I'm glad that he decided to share it with us. So until next time, much love,
Thank you
y'all.
for having me, John, man.
Bye.